Nyamje Jambur Zolder Himi Jan, Zoner Monum Chambur, Nagad. Bakar Targam Zando Shermaldo, Tumba de Janla Ki Jom Sar, Omichan Roar Chering Jankams, Jawar Egyptian, Yella. Jimmy Panzo Jala Soran, the Gonjo Toban Power, Shinji, Lagonjo Toban Power, Shinji. Gonjo Toban Power, Shinji, Lo.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate all the sentient beings, please give rise to the unsurpassed and supreme bodhicitta.
Teni Jungden di Shinji, Li Valander Kut, Katsara, Lun Zaman, Samson Nam, Shijit Jungzang, Derber Kava Yimbi, Shanchu Sanhua Chimbo, the Karaja of Tontonam, the Samson Reception, the Jodam Zati, Shingamone Tarato Shina Yang. Dichinji Ganzangaj, Tatung, Lariang Anson, Chimbur Tung Rikirto, Shanchu Sanhuan Di, Tablam Kipirtola Tenne, Semchin Mambu Likista, Jumbrashini, Tetagla, Cerebr Mar Nam, Jambrashina Yang, Zangang Semchin, Rang Ling and Be Wakchak, Stigbo Di, Tarma Tagdar, Lariang, Tung Rikirve. Shansu Sanhua Chimbondo, Karwa Tuma, Semjin Jorum Zapala, Godia Chimambok Tapayano, Huerna, Ganzangaji Kim Torjan, Lam Nurti, Ryansar Jigbana, Ryansa Ter, Nujindan, Tagdan, Shinkadan, Sanketan, Tugjerdan, Tumbutan, Dictunla, Sobe Yonsu, Gangner, Kachik Yitzum Jigd, Mutetagla Tug, Tane, Severshit Pariterna, Give Jinia Ganju. Changwa Jura Lam Keba, Tingoba Lam Keba, Nojin Jigba Jura Lam Keba, Denit, Holord, Lagne, Lam Nor Ganzlanderkut, Meba, Keva Lag, Kyochi Shirnayan Sander Jigba Yen, Kyochi Tingobi Tab, Mandrava Tamalam Keba Yenam, Jibana, Lam Nor Ganzki, Derkut, Tune, Zoda, Rani Yansa Chamber, Jigber, she. Yansa Chimbur Jigbra Shine, Tele, Lardobra Shiso. Teno give Shirnindi, Lagne, Teno give Shirnindi, Lagne Zonte, Yansa Chimbole, Janjan, Tugla Sorbin, Seva Mafshonver, Yang Tabi, Lam de Jigtiv, Deva Tobraship, Yeno. Yang Kiev T. Lam Norbekanzaglar, Meba, Kiev La Kyotani Zonte, Lam Gambander, Majigi, Lamder, Jigba Kanzagno, Namian. Tele Tarver Kajan, Ranga Chukjan Durun Guru. Tene Lam Nor Ganzak Kyang, Telap Gajan Sadmit, Jine, Tedan, Capture with Tisagan, give Shirnin Tini Larian Meba, Kyokir Nini dan Lamd, Jigba Ganzak Nam Tona Tedak, Tedaglanderkutter Maver Shago, Kibagan Vadmet Ganji. Tigdan Ninka Mava Lamdr Jigbr Mashago, Garte Zigna Ranga Tserchuk Dorun Girve, Ganzak Siyang Raniki, Cheval Herlember Mashago. Dina Janju Sanwa Sai Nyambo No, Shamba Chimboda, Nyaji Chimboda, Damba, Imbe Terter, Digdukunumba, Simchanam, Nansung Nele, Chanzan, Hadan, Mikum Lapcote, Deva Tobrashibago. Yang Digdukunumba Simchan, Tetak, Ranranga Liki, Lamla, Tenner, Dungur, Nyor Shite, Namjik Tele, Tarar, Lara, Clarian Tela, Jigbr Mashago. Perna, Lam Nurver. Jigne Ryansa Long Ganzakte, give Shenyan Dam Chadner, Lar, Tenilan Jigber Manjirva, Tang, Gentelan Jigbrum Tona, Rani Kitsir Mede Manor, Var, Tenila Marjigber, Larian, Tele Tarishaval of Zomba Geno. Tertarna Yang, Ganzak Gajika, Tadong Yang, Lamnor, Jigne, Rani the Ryanser Lonte, Tanak Chugyan, Dorazo, Meshiba Tadong, Mum Tutter Tonwa Jen. Ganzak Ganzi Ganson de Tommy Tsrian, Debjeno, Shanchip Sanwa, Sayambu, Tablam Kipistobla, Simpson Tate of Jate, Hadam Mikum Holap, Gotyan, Simpson Tate of Dugbel, Haj, Chimbo, Subbertin, Larian, and Yarian Sertone, Taris Kapme Payan Yodo, Yanti Tse, and J. Gerbu, Tarmo Jerde, Sanjip Jondan de Landercut of Sorap, Jondan de, Dagum J. Gerbu Namgi, Janet Satan Zor. chang tsat zong kawa tang dagchak ki zang lang de semjin gala pambar sheba dang semjin gala no br sheba la so ba rang rang le la ten ne sha nam jin yud dagchak khur dam che bar nam jikten ji kam kun dan kyam jang jewa na gang zag nam ji kyam dang zhong kir dang zhong der dang zhong so dang tie tsir dang kang tim so se jot ke wo mo kang ji ke ge sa pen zam sheba gam yana sang je dang shang chu sen hui Kazı gimden ne vadan xangwa tang dig jangwa tang pudang metok chongzi tsam chopar shepa gam yangnam dorde tamban domba tetagla dugpun chopa tang di tsig gam tsig chig dombar shepa tetagam tongna dagchig nji gerbor namji ji gangzag te deba tang tartar tang mao sanje namsab tawa tang kibar shedo dagchig ki rang gang kur namla susur top tang tanne wang jirwi semjin tetag chongrib shit chigbar te tenne wang jirwi semjin tetag wang jirwi sem stop nala tenne wang jirwi semjin tetag chongrib shit chigbar te tetag lan jigba tang ti mayin bi jigba tang nat tang ti mayin bi nat tang thana yut mogong shar nam tyang ti nizir tang marleb na ngus tetag kimda jigbar mu chaggu Tene sanji ji nri jarpo la ngagde terkata kapsarwa lakso kyochak tang shinji namji tertar rikji wagam rikji wamo kangtak chongrib shed na dakki jang kapsar tel hei wangbo gyapshin tang tsangba la soba kyot chongdak jiko terkat mepitz.
Now let us begin our teaching on the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Before we begin, I would like to say a few words. This is mainly about our Dharma teachers here. When you are supervising and managing the Sangha community, there should be a balance. We need to combine compassionate management with rule-based management. I would like to mention this here. This is not only for Dharma teachers, but for any kind of group or community. Those who are in management positions should follow such principles. I think this principle is very important. In Western societies, the legal system tends to be very strong. In Eastern societies, things may be too flexible sometimes. People rely on their own subjective judgment. For example, those in charge or those with authority, whatever they think becomes the rule. They say this is the rule, this is the policy. This approach is not necessarily very good either. But if the rule system is too rigid with nothing but rules and regulations, so inflexible and mechanical without any room for adjustment, this also has certain flaws. So in the process of management, we should have both rules and also some flexibility and human consideration. This is very important. For example, I have recently encountered many Dharma teachers. If everything was handled according to the rules, then perhaps some of these rules, I do not know if they are reasonable or not. For example, let me give you an example. If you join 2 months after the class has started, you'll have to be transferred to a new class. With such a rule, even if they are late by just 1 extra day, since the written rule says 2 months, not even 1 more day is allowed, they follow it strictly. Of course, they still have their reasoning. They are still following the rules. But if there is no violation of major principles, then whether it is 1 more day or 1 less day, I think it is not that important. Sometimes we should grasp the sense of appropriateness. We should manage reasonably. This is very important. In the process of management, without rules, things may become chaotic, which is not good. But if we follow the rules completely, without any room for adjustment, sometimes there may be certain difficulties, especially for matters that are not violations of major principles, not anything particularly serious. I hope that besides giving Dharma teachings, Dharma teachers will learn more about management and not be too rigid. We need to consider both kindness and the overall situation. We all need to be like this. If we were truly like this, I think some of the Dharma teachers might not even be here now. When you first came here, you were not like a saint or like Manjushri Bodhisattva. You may not have been free from all violations. This is one aspect. Also, in the process of management, some people in charge always think of themselves as great leaders. Actually, having a superior and arrogant attitude does not make one a true leader. One should have a very sincere heart of service. Only then can one become a true leader worthy of the name. So sometimes, perhaps due to the influence of our environment, when we mention being in charge, people become particularly arrogant. There are such cases. Also, of course, rules are rules, but we still need to have compassion. For example, when someone violates the rules, for example, regarding expulsion, if someone has truly violated the principles, there is no way to remedy it. But if it is not like that, we must be careful. Whether they are monastics or lay Buddhists, each person's situation is truly not easy. We should not easily, just because we are the so-called manager or leader, dismiss whoever we want. We cannot do this. If someone has been reminded multiple times and violated multiple times, then at a certain point, the karmic connection may come to an end. This is also necessary. So this so-called management science, whether in the Sangha or in other groups, still requires wisdom. It also requires compassion. When these two are combined, basically the tasks we undertake can be accomplished successfully. So I think that managers, no matter where they are, sometimes those who manage well, as managers, even if there are hundreds or thousands of people, everyone gets along peacefully and harmoniously, which is very good. This is because the manager's methods, whether horizontal management or vertical coordination, are all very good. But some, perhaps because of their own character, or because they place themselves above others with a particularly arrogant attitude, even with just 3, 4, 5, or 6 people, they cannot manage well. Everyone has complaints and is unhappy. Departments are unhappy with each other. So a person, really, this so-called management, in our human world, we cannot do without it. Because in today's society, whether monastic or lay communities basically exist as groups and organizations. In the past, people lived as farmers or herders, scattered and gathered in their own spaces. But now it is not like that. Whether schools, factories, or temples, all of these, you are in me and I am in you. This is the way of survival. At this time, it is impossible for everyone to be on equal footing. That would not work either. So if there are leaders, there are also those being led. Some leaders, whether vertically or horizontally, with superiors or subordinates, make everyone feel very comfortable and manage very well. But some, even with just a few people, have all kinds of situations with each other. Selecting managers also requires wisdom. Some people, you ask them to be in charge, but do they actually have the capability? Do they have compassion? Do they have the expertise? These are not even considered. They are chosen just because they have a good relationship with you, but this will result in a mess. So now, whether in the East or the West, the entire social groups are no longer like the old way of life. Everyone relies on cooperation to survive. When we survive through cooperation, there is interdependence between people. But this dependence is a kind of relationship. In this relationship, there are relationships of equality, and there are also hierarchical relationships. So some people in any group have a good reputation and everyone speaks highly of them. Some people in whatever group they are in, everyone gives them a bad reputation. They do not work out here either. They disrupt the entire group. When they go to that department, it does not work either. Whether monastics or lay people, there are such phenomena. Especially among monastics, the character of a very few individuals. At first, we thought they should be acceptable. But actually, there are all kinds of situations. So I think everyone should also examine what position they are in and what their interpersonal relationships are like. Regarding interpersonal relationships, I personally think when I say this here today, I should not be ashamed. Why is that? Personally, whether at Larungar or elsewhere, up to now, there is not a single person in my heart that I hate. There is not a single person with whom I have a bad relationship and do not want to talk to, or whom I'm unwilling to live with. I do not have any such person. The people I've encountered are relatively numerous. All kinds of people, those with faith and those without faith. I have encountered all kinds of people. But my relationships with various departments should be considered quite good. So in dealing with people, sometimes we need certain skills. Some people are are not like this. They have problems with people above and below them. Although at Larungar, if people have major conflicts and do not speak to each other, they cannot let it pass overnight. If they let it pass overnight and then come together to receive tantric teachings, this is not allowed. Those who break their samayas are not allowed to stay at Larungar even for one night. This was the rule even when His Holiness was alive. Although there are no major conflicts, some people's management and interpersonal relationships are quite poor. We Tibetans have a saying, the excellence of the son should not be praised by the father, it should be praised by others. There is no need for the father to praise how good his son is. Whether your son is good or not is known when people around praise him. Only then can we know. So many of our Dharma friends may not even know themselves. They think they are quite good, but actually how people around you view you and how they evaluate you, you should know whether you win people's hearts or not. So I think whether as a practitioner or as a manager, you should observe yourself. How are your relationships with people? How are your relationships with those above and below you? This is very important, especially some individuals, even in a small group, they often talk about others' rights and wrongs. I have said before that a practice center where gossip is common shows a lack of genuine study and practice. In a practice center with true study and practice, people will discuss the truths of the Dharma and the world. They will not value gossip and rumors between people. They will not attach importance to these things. So today, it seems the preliminary teaching has been too long. I could probably talk about these topics for 2 hours. If you ask me to talk about management, I still have more to say. Looking at you all wearing masks, you all look quite lovely because people's foreheads are generally quite nice. Even those who are not so good looking look quite nice with masks on. This area looks good on everyone, right? Take a look. This is how I feel. This was just mentioned in passing. Now let us begin our teaching on the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Before this, I want to say something. Our daily study and contemplation are indeed very important. But what is most important? We aspire for liberation. When studying and contemplating, when doing anything, we should think in our hearts, I am a seeker of liberation. In the past, the Venerable Master Drom Tonpa in a cypress forest at Reciting would often say, I am a seeker of liberation. May I not be bound by fame and offerings. This was also used in Open the Door to Mind training in the past. All of us here truly cannot claim to be great accomplished masters like Drom Tonpa, but we are following in the footsteps of the Buddha. We are seekers of liberation. If we seek liberation, all the various things in the worldly realm, whether fame or wealth, and all the 8 worldly concerns for us are like passing clouds and not very important. Perhaps at the beginning, because our worldly habitual tendencies are quite heavy, to see through them all at once may be somewhat difficult. But generally speaking, all kinds of worldly fortune, fame and wealth, none of these are very important. They have no real essence, just like a plantain tree. There is a sutra called the Mahayana Compassionate Pundarika Sutra. In it, it says, meritorious rewards of humans and gods are like a swift whirlwind. The meritorious rewards of humans and gods are like a very fast wind. It blows past in a moment and is nothing. All the fame and wealth of humans and gods are like this. They will not last, like the moon's reflection in water, because these things cannot remain for a long time. And although they appear, they actually have no real substance. They are like the moon's reflection in water with no true existence. Therefore, sometimes we should also think about everything that people pursue all day long. What kind of benefit and merit does it bring us? This is worth observing. Now, in the Ksitigarbha Sutra that we are teaching today, first let me tell you a story. During the 5 dynasties period, there was a place called Jingzhou. There was a hunter there. This hunter had killed countless lives, so people later called this person super hunter of geese. Perhaps he was very heroic and exceptional at hunting wild geese. Later, when he reached the age of 51, this person died from miasmic disease. After he died, perhaps his wife did not have a good relationship with him or something. She threw his corpse in the graveyard like a charnel ground. She did not bury it, just left it there. It should be devoured by tigers and wolves. But after 3 days, this person came back to life. If he had been buried, there would have been no way. After he came back to life, he stood up and came back. How frightening. After he came back, his wife was shocked. She thought a ghost had come. Later, he said, "Do not be afraid, I truly came back to life." He then told the whole process of his revival. After he died, he said he boarded a fire vehicle. Of course, this fire vehicle is not like our modern train. He said it was a vehicle with fierce flames burning on it. He boarded the fire vehicle. At this time, his flesh and body were all being burned, and he felt immense suffering. On the way, a monk appeared. He held cool water in his hands. Then he poured water on him. When he poured the water, the flames were extinguished. He obtained coolness and liberation. When he arrived before King Yama, there were countless hundreds of thousands of cattle, sheep, pigs, chickens, wild pheasants, and so on, all the beings he had killed in the past. They all gathered there and began to make complaints. "This person has taken our lives. He's an extremely evil person." At that time, King Yama also listened to what they said. They requested King Yama to punish him severely. King Yama replied to them, "Looking at your accusations, he should be a very evil person." But when this person came to our netherworld on the fire vehicle, a monk came to extinguish the flames. The reason for this is that his ancestor worshipped Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, so he also has some merit. At this time, the hunter mentioned earlier, he was in the Bardo state. He saw so many animals making complaints against him. He was also nervous and afraid. But then he silently began to recite the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. As he recited more and more earnestly, it seemed that those animals gradually each developed compassion in their minds. Most of them transformed into human forms. Originally they were animals with animal heads. Later they all transformed into human forms. Gradually, the extremely tense atmosphere disappeared. At this time, King Yama allowed him to return, so he woke up. After waking up, he abandoned his family and then wandered to various places. He urged others to take refuge in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. He propagated this Dharma teaching. This is such a story. What does this story explain? In the past, it was not said that he was a Buddhist, nor was it said that he had faith in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, because he was the super hunter of geese who committed all kinds of evil. But actually, just like the saying, if one person ordains, 9 generations ascend to heaven, there is such a saying. Perhaps his ancestor, we do not know how many generations back his ancestor, because he had faith in Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, or because he made images of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, his later descendants received such benefits. So sometimes we can also observe, perhaps our parents or our grandparents, they have a shrine at home and worship Buddha images or Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Perhaps their immediate descendants and children at that time may not have faith and may even scoff at it, but gradually it also brings benefits to them. Therefore, in this study of the Ksitigarbha Sutra, on the one hand, as we mentioned yesterday, it says, "When hearing well and keeping healthy, cultivate by yourself and receive every part of the benefit." If you cultivate while you are alive and healthy, you will receive all the merit. This is what we talked about yesterday. And another thing, like the Brahman woman we mentioned earlier, or the daughter Bright Eyes, they both, through their own virtuous roots, enabled their mothers and others to receive benefits. Therefore, when we study the Ksitigarbha Sutra, we should all have some confidence. We can analyze it this way. If we recite the Buddha's name or sutras with an altruistic mind or create statues, then the objects to whom you dedicate merit will 100% receive benefits. Of course, is it 6 parts, 7 parts, or 1 part? It may depend on your dedication, your motivation, and there is some relationship. But at least the other party does receive benefits. Even if we ourselves create such virtuous roots, then our next generation or other beings we benefit will also receive benefits. So sometimes, for those of us who wish to propagate the Dharma, if we truly lack the ability, if there is no way to go and give Dharma teachings, my hometown is a very remote place, then there is no other way. I will just make a 1-foot tall statue of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva or Buddha Shakyamuni and place it there. I hope to let the local people, all those who see, hear, or become aware of it, receive benefits. If you generate such a motivation, then the blessing of the 3 jewels is inconceivable. The power of infallible karma is also inconceivable. The power of the Dharma with such motivation is also inconceivable. Our motivation is also inconceivable. When these conditions are complete, perhaps this remote place of yours will also receive many benefits. In the future, in the process of doing volunteer work, everyone should also generate such aspirations. In the future, when conditions are complete, I want to do something for that place. Everyone should at least do something for their own hometown, for their relatives and friends around them. Of course, some of us may be in relatively better circumstances. There are temples, sangha communities, and faith in the surrounding areas. Some, perhaps most people, the surrounding areas have heavy karma of killing. Such evil atmosphere is quite strong. Even the names of the three jewels cannot be heard. Even the eye faculty cannot plant seeds through encountering images of the three jewels. In such places, we should, with good intentions, create statues or print some sutras there. Just placing them there will also bring benefits. Yesterday, we mentioned earlier, King Yama, representing these ghosts and spirits, spoke before Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, saying, through Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, so many ghosts and spirits have come here. On one hand, we feel very fortunate. But on the other hand, as King Yama, he had some doubts and boldly asked Buddha Shakyamuni, can you please explain? When he asked this, the Buddha told King Yama, ask whatever you wish, I will explain it for you. According to your thoughts, just ask freely. I can answer fluently, there is no problem at all. I will give you a very good answer. Actually, our Buddha, whatever question is asked, he can indeed answer without any hindrance. In the Sutra of the Heap of Jewels, it also says, even oceans of questions from all hosts of beings can be satisfactorily resolved in one speech without any fear. This is indeed inconceivable. Whatever difficult questions beings may ask, through a single voice, the Buddha can resolve these questions joyfully. In this process, there is no fear, no hindrance. It is truly inconceivable. Not only the Buddha, some of the eminent monks and great masters of the past truly are the same, because their understanding of Buddhism is very deep. Answering questions will not have any difficulty. When I first came here in the past, at that time, when His Holiness gave teachings, the classes started around 1:15 in the afternoon. After the teaching, around that area, at that time, there were not many people, about 100 or 200. His Holiness said, if you have any questions, ask me at the same time. Below, many Khenpos would ask various questions. Then His Holiness would answer them one by one. The answers were particularly good and brilliant. So at that time, I thought it was very interesting. Once when I went to a school, I also deliberately tried to imitate this to see if I could do it. I let them ask several questions. Sometimes they would ask up to 4 questions. I tried my best to remember them. I did not use a pen to record. I recorded with my mind. But basically, I could remember some of them. Some may still not work. Our wisdom is still not that exceptional. However, asking questions is still very necessary, because if you yourself, some Dharma teachers, are very annoyed by questions, do not ask questions. Are you trying to make things difficult for me? Some teachers are also like this. Actually, asking questions is not making things difficult for you. If you can answer, then answer. If you cannot answer, then say, I cannot answer this question. I do not dare to answer this question. I do not want to answer this question. I am not willing to answer this question. There is no need to answer this question. You can have all kinds of reasons. For Jewish people, it is not like us. For us, we ask children, how many points did you score today, baby? How adorable. You got 0 points. How adorable. But Jewish people, they do not do this. They do not care about scores. What do? From a young age, did you ask your classmates good questions today? Did you ask your teacher good questions today? Teachers also particularly like students who can ask particularly sharp questions. What do teachers like most? Students who ask particularly sharp questions. But in many of our places, what do teachers dislike most? Those who often ask sharp questions. So if you ask sharp questions, the teacher will probably not select you for anything in the end. Asking questions is still very necessary. In Sakya Pandita's Treasury of Good Advice, it says, until the learned are thoroughly questioned, their depth cannot be assessed. If there is no inquiry, no debate, we will not know the depth of knowledge. Until a drum is beaten by drumsticks, its distinction from other drums is unknown. If the drum is not beaten, there will be no sound. If there is no sound, others will not know. It cannot be distinguished from other teapots or computers. So if you do not ask questions, we cannot tell if someone has wisdom or not. We cannot see it at all. Without debate, we also cannot see it. To know the depth of wisdom, asking questions is still very important. Of course, when asking questions, Some people cannot really ask any questions. They just speak for the sake of speaking. Actually, this has no value. Therefore, the Buddha has the 4 types of unhindered knowledge. For this reason, you can ask however you want. But some people, they themselves cannot answer well either. They just say, ask, 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 no questions. They themselves do not know either. They do not even understand the questions others ask. There are such cases too. This is not very good. At that time, King Yama reverently gazed at the world-honored one and also turned to behold Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, an old Dharma master, when teaching the Ksitigarbha Sutra, said, because Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was his teacher, he also greeted his teacher. Perhaps he is King Yama's teacher, because King Yama is in the Bardo state. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva often goes there, so he should be his teacher and his friend. So he looked at his teacher and greeted him. However, turning to behold, this plot may be quite interesting, because he first prostrated before the Buddha, saw Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva also sitting beside, looked at him, and then began to speak to the Buddha. World-honored one, I see that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva in the 6 realms, especially in our hells, every day wears his robes and runs around, because many of the earlier stories were when he was in the Bardo state. He said, in the 6 realms, using hundreds of thousands of skillful means to guide wrongdoing suffering beings indefatigably, truly Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, for so many eons, such a long time, guiding such difficult beings, beings of the 6 realms, obstinate beings, beings in hell, guiding them. He never feels tired, fatigued, or weary at all. This is truly so. The spirit of bodhisattvas is inconceivable. Many of us, for the sake of beings or for various reasons, for a little while, for example, volunteering for 1 year or 2 years at the beginning, there is enthusiasm, but in the end, basically, all this warmth is already gone. Even at the end, when volunteering, conflicts arise with many people, and finally they give up. So truly, what we admire most about Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is that for the benefit of beings, he never grows weary, never loses hope, never feels sad. He is always so strong. Actually, for those of us who have truly generated the Mahayana Bodhicitta, in the process of benefiting beings and propagating the Dharma, no matter what difficulties we encounter, we should try our best not to generate a mind of weariness. We should continue to do it very firmly. Like what worldly people call a workaholic, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva should be a workaholic in terms of benefiting beings. This kind of workaholic, not for a few years or a few thousand years, but for so many eons with such a spirit. This kind of spirit, whether worldly people have faith or not, is worth learning from. This great bodhisattva has deeds of such inconceivable, miraculous power, yet after beings gain release from the ripened effects of wrongdoing, before long, they again fall into the lower realms. Because as we just mentioned, these beings' karma is very heavy. They gain liberation. Their karmic retributions have been liberated, but not long in the future, after a period of time, they begin to fall again, falling into the lower realms. Why? Because beings repeatedly sometimes create virtuous karma, sometimes create evil karma, sometimes their evil karmic habitual tendencies manifest, sometimes the habitual tendencies of creating virtuous karma manifest. In this way, like we mentioned before, like an elephant bathing, sometimes going to dry land, sometimes going into the swamp, turning back and forth like this, beings are still very pitiful. World-honored one, since Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has such inconceivable miraculous power, why do living beings not dwell relying and place them forever on the virtuous path? He said, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is so powerful. He is never weary. But why isn't it that these beings are always placed in a place of eternal happiness forever without regression? How wonderful to attain eternal liberation. Why is Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva working so hard? After guiding them, there is still a large group that falls. After guiding them, there is still a large group that falls. Why is that? His question is also like this. King Yama asked this question. Why is Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva so powerful? For such a long time, his aspirations are also so great. In that case, why does he not just completely liberate the being in the hells after guiding these beings? Why must he continue to guide them repeatedly? Let him guide them all at once and be done with it. Why must he continue to guide them repeatedly? O world-honored one, please explain this for me. I have always been unable to understand this principle. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva can just guide them all completely. Just like in prisons, if the prison is empty, that would be good. Why must there be more prisoners locked up? How meaningless is that? Actually, it is not like that. In our human world also, some people in prison have been released 7 or 8 times, but later they commit crimes again and come back. Just like drug addicts nowadays, it is also like this. Once they are addicted, no matter how they try to quit, they cannot quit. They start committing this problem again, always like this. So worldly people are sometimes still very pitiful. At this time, the Buddha told King Yama, "It is not as you imagine. Do not think it is so simple. The beings of Jambudvipa, their dispositions are obstinate, difficult to regulate, and difficult to tame. You do not know the beings of Jambudvipa. Unlike beings of other worlds like Uttarakuru, the beings of Jambudvipa are truly obstinate and difficult to tame. In terms of evil, they are very skillful. In terms of virtue, they are very difficult to tame. Sometimes, even if the Buddha himself appears before them, there is no way, much less anything else. So the beings of Jambudvipa, truly, sometimes the beings we encounter, we still feel they are particularly obstinate and difficult to tame." This great bodhisattva, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, rescues such beings everywhere throughout hundreds of thousands of kalpas, manifesting in various forms, hundreds of thousands of millions of manifestations, guiding them one by one. Appearing in every world, he works so hard to guide them, causing them to attain liberation early. Originally, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva hoped to let them attain liberation early, but some wrongdoing people still fall into the very low realms. These beings still fall into the very low realms in the hells among hungry ghosts. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva uses the power of skillful means to extract their fundamental karmic conditions, to sever them, using his skillful means, trying every method for these wrongdoing suffering beings, their original karma. He continuously severs or extracts them and also leads them to realize the events of their previous lives. Many beings, through this method, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva helps them eliminate their negative karma. After eliminating their karma, he lets them know their destiny, their circumstances in past lives. However, because beings of Jambudvipa have heavy habits of forming evil, the original Chinese means severe fetters and heavy habits of evil. Fetter is another name for mental affliction, the definition and category of which is clearly explained in the treasury of Abhidharma. There are 3 or 9 fetters of major mental afflictions. These mental afflictions, the habitual tendencies of evil karma, are extremely heavy. Originally, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has thought of many methods for us. Actually, many of our virtuous masters are also like this for us. They should have shown us various virtuous paths, let us repent, helped us recognize our true nature, and so on. The Dharma we need, the things we should realize and understand, we have all received. But because in our mind streams the karma from past lives is extremely heavy, the habitual tendencies are extremely heavy, so no sooner have they left, they go back in again. In a very short time, it seems like we have attained liberation. Today our mood is very good, the weather is very good, the food is very good. In a few more days the weather is also not good, the mood is also not good, and afflictions appear again. Actually, many of us ordinary beings truly have such similar habitual tendencies. It seems like the blessing power of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, sometimes in all aspects I myself feel that I should have hope for liberation, especially when teaching about emptiness in Madhyamaka or the luminosity of mind. At such times, I am already now. The so-called afflictions have all completely vanished. Look at the sky. The sky has no birth or death. Everything is like this. Then my mind is also like this. Wow, wow. Then after a period of time when encountering unfavorable external conditions, originally like the sky, immediately dark clouds gather and it starts thundering and lightning. Various situations may occur. So we ordinary beings, truly, what is taught here is still very relevant. So because ordinary beings' karma is particularly heavy, habitual tendencies are very severe, sometimes coming out, sometimes entering the lower realms again. The meaning here is giving the bodhisattva a lot of trouble. troubling the bodhisattva. Indeed, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is also working very hard. Today, they are all very obedient and good. Tomorrow, they are disobedient again. Actually, we are also like this. In the past, before many masters, I have also said this. Sometimes it seems like my own practice and study, all aspects are very good. Sometimes, perhaps in many ways, karma is very heavy. I should have done many things that would not please the great masters of the past and my lineage gurus. So it says, this necessitates the bodhisattva to work hard throughout many kalpas in guiding them across to liberation. Therefore, for Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, one thing is to answer their earlier question. He asked earlier why it is like this. Why does Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva not guide them all completely at once? Actually, if he could guide them all at once, that would be very good. But guiding them is not so easy. It is simple to say, but not so simple to do. Just as there was a geshe in the past named Gyalwa Yangompa, he said, the evil karmic habitual tendencies of us ordinary beings are like rolled paper. After we have rolled up the paper, then when we pull it down, once we let go, it naturally rolls back up. So our habitual tendencies are like rolled paper. Evil habits are like rolled paper. What this means is we may have loved fighting in the past, especially in the worldly realm. All kinds of habitual tendencies are very severe. All at once, even if you ordain such habitual tendencies, many monastics here are also like this. Some at the beginning all are. I must earnestly seek liberation as my main purpose. I am a seeker of liberation. May I not be bound by fame and offerings. Then after a period of time, their previous profession, their relatives and friends, those habitual tendencies begin to resurface. All kinds of worldly habitual tendencies from before begin to revive, and then they are very difficult to change. So Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva also works very hard. Many Dharma teachers also work very hard, especially Dharma teachers who give teachings and manage classes. Some have a relatively calm state of mind. They seem okay, like a stone. Whatever happens, it does not matter. However they are, whether they attain liberation or not, it is okay. Whatever Dharma I'm supposed to teach, I just close my eyes and finish teaching it. After teaching, class is dismissed, just saying, goodbye, students, goodbye, teacher. That is how it is done. But some have softer hearts and are particularly sensitive. Today it seems like one person's study is quite good. They are overjoyed. In 2 more days, that person is not doing well. They begin to worry. Habitual tendencies manifest. Inexplicably, this and that happen. Wow, they feel sad again. Every day is like this, rising and falling. So Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva also works very hard. Many Dharma teachers who guide beings and some other people are also not so easy. Next, an analogy is given about these ordinary beings of Jambudvipa. An analogy is given like this. Suppose there was a person who lost his way. Originally he was on the way home, but as a result he could not find his home and got lost. After getting lost, he mistakenly entered a dangerous path. Originally he wanted to return home smoothly, but as a result he entered extremely dangerous cliffs and forests, an extremely terrifying place, in which there were many yakshas, tigers, wolves, lions, lizards, snakes, vipers, and so on. Actually, in some sutras, they all represent greed, anger, and ignorance. Because these wild beasts and fierce beasts each have their own characteristics. For example, some have very heavy anger, some have very heavy ignorance, some are very arrogant. They represent various afflictions, equivalent to these terrifying fierce beasts. Such a confused person on that dangerous path would be harmed within a short time, harmed by the yakshas, poisonous snakes mentioned earlier, and so on. It would be very dangerous. At this time, he originally wanted to go home, but as a result, he has already entered such a den of fierce beasts. This situation is very bad and very dangerous. At this time, if there is a virtuous friend, the virtuous friend here should be, what is this virtuous friend? He is particularly proficient in arts, whether confronting tigers and wolves, poisonous snakes, or yakshas. He is particularly skillful, and he is good at stopping and keeping out harmful poisons and the harm of yakshas, and so on. In short, whether yakshas, poisonous snakes, or lions, he will not be afraid at all, a particularly powerful virtuous friend. Suddenly encountered this lost person. He wanted to find a way to rescue this person. Then he spoke to him like this. "Hey, fellow!" Hey means calling out, "Hey, buddy, where are you going?" He called out to him saying, "You, this fellow, why are you here entering this path? Do you understand some different special arts? Can you truly stop and restrain these harmful poisons?" The virtuous friend spoke to him like this. This lost person, upon suddenly hearing his voice, came to realize that he had already entered a particularly dangerous path. Afterwards, he wanted to immediately turn back and seek out his true path, the path home. At this time, that virtuous friend, holding his hand, led him out from the very dangerous path to liberation, liberated from extremely dangerous and evil harms, and then placed him on the true path, letting him attain happiness. And also told him, this lost person, "From now on you must never enter this path again. If you continue to enter this path, then you will have great difficulty attaining liberation. Even your life may be in certain danger." Actually, in this section, I can explain it a bit later. Everything in here has its meaning. Of course, the main content here is about Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. The virtuous friend just mentioned is Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. But myself, when I was translating the other day, I also had a strong feeling. Actually, each and every one of us beings is truly a person who got lost. If we had not encountered virtuous masters who now show us the path to liberation, we would probably continuously walk this path, continuously going toward the dens of tigers, wolves, and poisonous snakes, always like this. But because we have encountered virtuous masters who told us not to continue like this, otherwise you will fall into the extremely terrifying abyss of samsara. Only then did we realize, only then did we know, oh, originally the worldly path we entered is still very dangerous. This virtuous master then tells us, "From now on, it is best that you never fall again. You should seek the path to liberation." At this time, what is the second teaching of the virtuous master? What is the third teaching of the virtuous master? It will be explained below. It says, "Not only should you not enter this path in the future, but also your relatives and friends, whomever you see in the future, tell them not to enter this path. Otherwise, it is very dangerous. Even their lives may be lost." Who would choose such a path? The virtuous master's requirements for us are not only that we ourselves should seek the path to liberation, but also that we should share this path to liberation with many beings, with all sentient beings. Otherwise, in this dangerous path of samsara, it is too terrifying. There are so many fierce beasts of afflictions waiting, and the time is extremely long. So in our practice, when I was in Chengdu the other day, I still had a deep feeling. At that time, I thought, if I had not encountered virtuous masters, I would still be exactly like this lost person. If I had not encountered them, I would certainly still be self-righteous, thinking that I myself, for example, if I had studied at teacher training school, I would think that my teaching profession was very important to me. In such a short human life, I would not have encountered the path to liberation at all. So personally, sometimes when I think about my own life, I was thinking at that time, in my life, the first Dharma teaching of liberation should have been in the spring of the year when I was 23. I remember being 23, which was on the 13th day of the first month of the Tibetan calendar in 1985. At that time, Khenpo taught us the words of my perfect teacher. This should be the first time I received the true Dharma teaching of liberation in my life. Then after another month, I came to Laronggar. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche began giving the empowerments and transmissions of the complete works of Lerab Lingpa. This should be in my life the true course on the path to liberation. Other worldly courses at school, I also listened to many teachers, but these courses basically have nothing to do with liberation. Now many people, the Dharma they learn, whether you study fashion design, you study physics or chemistry, you study astronomy, you study geography or biology, these are their worldly knowledge. Yes, they are worldly knowledge, but with our true path to liberation, do they have a relationship? Indeed, there is also no direct relationship. So sometimes some of ours, for example, some sincere lay practitioners and Buddhists, very sincerely begin to cry. They think that in this very life they have truly encountered the path to liberation. If they had not encountered the path to liberation, how pitiful. Actually, this experience everyone should have witnessed together. In our lives, I think many of us may also be like this. In your life, if you had not encountered masters who transmit the Dharma of liberation, perhaps samsara would continue endlessly and indefinitely. If you pursue, you would probably continue like this. So let us see what kind of positioning each person has in their life. We think that worldly teachers, do they have kindness toward us? Yes, they have kindness. But those who truly show us the path to liberation in our lives, if we do not have them, we would always be in samsara without boundaries. This is extremely terrifying. So personally, this section of text talks about the virtuous masters who appeared in our lives, who showed us the path to liberation, virtuous masters with great kindness. If we had not met them, we would probably continue like this always. Then he told him, from now on, you must never continue to walk this path, otherwise it is very dangerous. Your life will be lost. Your wisdom life will be lost. If we speak from the meaning perspective, your wisdom life will be lost. This lost person was also very grateful and moved, because if the lost person had not encountered the virtuous master, indeed his own situation was very dangerous. His teaching like this, he was also very grateful to him. As they were about to part, the virtuous friend would further say, if you see other relatives and friends, as well as other travelers, be they men or women, you should tell them clearly, this path has evil poisons, it will cause loss of life, it is very dangerous. So let them not bring about their own deaths. Do not let these beings bring about their own deaths. There is no need for this. This path is extremely dangerous. So at the end, as they parted, this virtuous master told him this. Actually, our masters, when they left this world, still left us with similar teachings. Although the time they remained in this world had a certain age, a certain time, when they finally left us, they also told us, you yourselves should carefully observe cause and effect, because they used their own personal experience to tell us. At the same time, they let us tell many beings, look at these beings, they are also very pitiful. Let them not enter such a wrong path. Otherwise, even liberation from life to life will have been destroyed. So when I thought about this the other day, many masters who have already left our side had such great kindness. At that time, when masters went out to propagate the Dharma, it was still very difficult. Now we, for example, between Chengdu and Serta, there is an expressway. Every time I take the expressway or take a plane, I will think, at that time, the masters, it seems their means of transportation were also very poor. Their health also appeared to be not good. In order to create virtuous connections with many beings, going up and down was still very difficult. But now, to find the physical bodies of these masters is also very difficult to find. So sometimes, just like that virtuous master just mentioned, on his journey, he suddenly appeared for a moment, then rescued him, and finally he left. As they parted, he told him, in the future, do not walk this path. Let others also not walk this path. Actually, the virtuous masters who appeared in our lives should mostly be the same. The most excellent and virtuous masters, although we do not wish to be separated, we will certainly be separated. This is what the Venerable Longchenpa said in the Treasury of Pith Instructions. It is also quoted in the words of my perfect teacher. So these virtuous masters will also, in the end, leave us with such teachings and then depart from this world. Therefore, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, replete with such great compassion. Here, the virtuous master mainly refers to Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, but in my own life, it would be 19 years following His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. In this process, I was still very diligent. Although very diligent, I also tried my best to delight His Holiness. But sometimes, perhaps due to karma from previous lives, there are also relationships in various aspects. Whether I truly pleased him or not, I also do not know. No matter what, the kindness of the Guru in this world should always be the first. This is speaking personally. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, replete with such great kindness and compassion, rescues these wrongdoing, suffering beings, enabling them to be reborn in the human realm or the God realm, letting them experience wonderful bliss. These wrongdoing, suffering beings, after knowing the suffering of the karmic paths, are liberated from the lower realms and will never enter the lower realms again. That person just mentioned, because the virtuous master told him in the future he will never enter this path again, just like that. Here it also repeats this again. Just like this lost person who mistakenly entered the dangerous path after encountering the virtuous master, he was led out to liberation. After liberation, if he has wisdom, he will never enter again. Actually, some of us with relatively good virtuous roots, some Dharma friends, after the Guru guides them in this way, they immediately control themselves with mindfulness and introspective awareness and will never make mistakes again. Such people should be considered to have relatively great merit. For example, whether keeping precepts, cultivating meditation, or studying wisdom in terms of the 3 trainings before they may have made such mistakes, gone astray, but later after encountering virtuous masters, they made their choice. After making their choice, they themselves have great merit. They will never fall again. These are such people. Whenever he would come upon others, and moreover he is also like this. This is probably in terms of self-benefit. In terms of benefiting others, when he sees other people, he also urges everyone not to enter the dangerous path of samsara, saying that because he was confused, because he himself previously failed in this place, got lost in this place, so after attaining liberation, he will never enter again. Not only will he himself not be like this, he also urges others not to enter the dangerous path. His ability to guide beings is still quite strong. This is from the analogy just mentioned. Such a person is considered quite remarkable. If he should walk on it again, a small number of people, what are they like? They previously also entered the wrong path, and then again walk onto this dangerous path. In our worldly realm, what is it? When the wound heals, the pain is forgotten. After your previous wound has completely healed, when the wound heals, you forget the pain. It seems like what happened before has passed, and then they continue to enter this wrong path, unaware that it is the dangerous path he had fallen into before, very dangerous, and may even lose their own lives. They have no mindfulness, introspective awareness, or feeling at all. This analogy, like falling into the lower realms, is also the same. This analogy is a bit difficult to understand. The meaning is that the latter person continuously falls into the lower realms. He may even lose his own life. So we who have heavy negative karma, when we fall into the lower realms, are also exactly the same as this situation. In what way are they the same? They have encountered virtuous masters who have already taught them, but because their karma manifests, they continuously commit wrongdoings. Finally, they fall into the lower realms, just like the lost person just mentioned. He has clearly entered once, but he just does not change, enters again and enters again. We worldly people now, like just mentioned, some people in prison continuously fall again and fall again. By virtue of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's power of skillful means, they gain liberation, gain rebirth among humans and devas, but shortly thereafter they go back in again. Although through Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's skillful means power, he lets them attain liberation, temporarily being born among humans and gods, then in a very short time they enter such a state again. If they form heavy karma, like the 5 crimes with immediate retribution, breaking samayas in such cases, they will remain in the hells forever without a time of liberation. How terrifying! So the above, what was just explained, it explained why some people continuously still fall. The reason was explained in this way. Among worldly people, originally they could all attain liberation at once. It would be possible, but it is closely related to the karma in one's mind stream. We also hope that if our own afflictions manifest, we should try our best to repent. The blessing of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is inconceivable. Generally speaking, there should not be major obstacles. At that time, Ghost King Evil Poison, yesterday I may have misspoken. I think I confused non-poisonous Ghost King with Evil Poison Ghost King. Ghost King Evil Poison joined his palms in respect and said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, we Ghost Kings, our numbers are very many, countless and measureless. In Jambudvipa, what are our specialties? Some Ghost Kings benefit beings." Yesterday we seem to have mentioned the Ghost King of spreading calamities, the Ghost King who spreads disasters, also Ghost King presiding over food, Ghost King presiding over wealth. These, some still help people. Among some ghosts and spirits, there are still some earth spirits, some are still quite powerful, and there are some who harm people. Each specialty is different. But this karmic retribution causes us, because the karma of these ghost kings is different, we and our retinues together travel in this world. Most ghost kings' actions are evil, and few are virtuous. They pass people's homes, cities, villages, manors, and houses, and there are some men, women, and so on. When they pass by these places, some, whether men or women, cultivate even a hair's breadth of virtuous roots, or even hang a single banner or canopy, the prayer flags we mentioned yesterday, or banners and canopies, victory banners, or a little incense, a small amount of incense, or offer a small amount of flowers before Buddhas and Bodhisattvas like this, or recite sutras like the Diamond Sutra or the Ksitigarbha Sutra, or burn incense to make offerings to even a sentence or verse in the sutras. They said, because our specialty is to go everywhere in the world, everywhere there is. Some of us people ask, are there ghosts here? But ghosts exist all over the world. Places without ghosts, only perhaps some places blessed by saints, places blessed by Padma Sambhava, may have a few less, perhaps not many. Ghosts certainly exist. At home there are also, in rooms there are also at night after the lights are turned off, especially after the lights are turned off, ghosts just come out. In the past, when we studied, many children asked me to tell ghost stories. Sometimes I made them up quite successfully. After I finished telling them, they did not dare to go back. Then I continued to tell. In the past, when we were in middle school, such ghosts exist. But among these, if at home or in houses, some people worship Ksitigarbha images or Bodhisattva images, recite mantras, burn incense in such cases. We ghost kings particularly respect such people. We regard them as what? As Buddhas of the future, past, and present. Indeed, when we perform virtuous deeds, whether obstacles appear or not, in these aspects we should still do some virtuous deeds ourselves. Reciting sutras, making offerings to the Buddha, offering incense are very important. And these ghost kings dispatch these small ghosts, many small ghosts, each having great power. These each have great power. Each is assigned to manage different places. Earth spirits, earth gods, river gods, many were mentioned the other day. Mountain gods, tree gods, heavenly gods, all kinds. They are made to guard and protect such people. If we see anyone reciting the Ksitigarbha Sutra, anyone making offerings to the Dharma of Ksitigarbha, even just one verse, in such cases, the ghost kings arrange for them many other ghosts and spirits to protect them, not allowing untoward happenings, virulent diseases, untoward serious illnesses, and so on to appear, not allowing unwelcome matters to even come near their dwellings, much less truly enter the doors. In our worldly realm, many unwelcome and inauspicious events actually have various causes, especially when guardian spirits and Dharma protectors are relatively few. Without obtaining protection, we often suffer harm from various non-human beings and ghosts and spirits. Why do we often have some? Yesterday I saw a Tibetan child. He was carrying many pouches on his body. Inside the pouches are some blessed items, all kinds. I joked with him, this is a sampa bag, this is a ghee bag, and this is a milk dregs bag. And he was wearing so many blessed items. Actually, people without faith think all these are very foolish behaviors. But actually there are many, especially now when disasters of earth, water, fire, and wind are rampant. It is still good to have some faith ourselves and have such places of refuge. Then the Buddha praised the ghost kings. Excellent, excellent, all of you, you ghost kings, and also Yama. Because earlier one represented the ghosts and spirits, one represented Yama. At the beginning, there were also these two groups. One is on King Yama's side, because before the Buddha, sometimes there are these ghosts and spirits, sometimes the Yama group. There is still a certain arrangement. This time, mainly the team of King Yama and the team of ghost kings, representatives of these two, have already spoken. Then the Buddha praised the ghost kings. Excellent, excellent. If all of you and Yama are able to support and protect good men and good women in this way, I will also tell the heavenly kings and Indra and the 4 great heavenly kings to protect all of you. So the heavenly kings, after all, the ghosts and spirits are under their command. If ghosts and spirits protect such people, the heavenly kings also protect these ghosts and spirits. So in this way, indirectly, all the four great heavenly kings, Brahma, Indra, and so on, also protect such people. Therefore, in order to protect ourselves and also to protect sentient beings, we should earnestly uphold the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Originally, we said everyone should carry the verse summary of the perfection of wisdom. Now, I will not require everyone to carry the Ksitigarbha Sutra, otherwise everyone would be carrying too many sutras. But it is best if you still have some, like the Ksitigarbha Sutra or the Sutra of the 10 Wheels of Ksitigarbha. These are indeed sutras with great blessings. It is also very good to carry them with you often. If you carry them, there are so many ghosts and spirits protecting you, and behind them a group of heavenly kings are also surrounding and protecting you. So in this way, you do not need to be afraid. Good. Today's teaching ends here.
Bandara Padma Sodargye